I'm so pissed. Hello and welcome to the first ever podcast hosted by myself, DxT Hobo, also joined with by DxT Nevo and DxT Ferret. This is the Heads Up broadcast. We're also special guests today by Brett and Amar. Guys, how are we all doing today? I can hear munching in the background, so I must be doing some good.
Not bad. Yeah, apologies. My dinner turned up like, I know, what, 10 minutes ago? I'm almost finished though. I'm almost finished.
Almost finished.
I'm almost
We got
finished.
mountain of food. That's not going to be likely, is it?
Nah, it's just a cheesy chip wrap and kebab meat. It's all good.
I do enjoy the ASMR, so it's all good.
I've got a little emojis in to show that Amar and Brett are here. So basically, we've been talking about doing this little podcast for it's been about a few months now at least, isn't it, Alex?
I think I mentioned it quite a few months ago.
Yeah.
I think it was actually last year at some point I mentioned it.
So we thought we'd just give it a go, see what we can do. It's our first one, so do bear with us. Ken's noticed the trophy in the background of the picture. Glad you noticed it, buddy. So actually, before we do crack on, anyone can guess who each person is there. That'd be quite funny to do. So obviously, going from right to left, have a little guess of who which person is. Okay, so first of all, we'll do a little introduction. So obviously, guys that don't know me, I am DxT Hobo. Dan is officially my name. So yeah, started playing F1 probably when I was a little kid, really, and then literally, I think it must have been recently when me and Alex kind of met 10 years ago now on console. Then we started playing F1. Got into F1 racing. After I kept taking them out every 5 minutes, so they wanted to get away from me on track, basically. And been racing ever since. And then Brett, luckily enough, asked us for the commentary. Although I don't even know how that come about, really, because Alex, you sort of kind of set it all up, didn't you? Really.
It was kind of a thing where Brett needed some commentators, and I was like, sack it. Me and Obo give it a go, and then it kind of went from there. Until and it turned into an award-winning duo commentating Duo of the Year. Well, slip that in there.
At least we didn't mention it first. Ken mentioned it before us, then we're fine on that.
Well, I mean, obviously, Ken voted for us because he just recognises talent when he sees it. So fair play to Ken for having that eye for talent. But I mean, going off, do you have anything more to add to your introduction, Hobo?
Other than that, no. Obviously, main founder of DxT. We'll go into DxT in a little bit anyway. But
are we going back, like back to you and me, you and me back?
Yeah, that's
okay. That's cool. All right, that's cool.
I'll let you do the how we met bit. If you want.
How I met your mother? No, it's okay. I mean, I'll start off with saying my name's Alex. Most of you probably know me as DxT Sleeping Beauty, but my actual gamer tag's DxT Nevo. I blame people for boring races while I fall asleep and being a dad. It's fucking tiring, not gonna lie to you. But yeah, I started gaming when I was I've always played like PlayStation, like Gran Turismo and stuff like that. I didn't properly. This is how back I'm going. I didn't properly get into gaming until my mate showed me RuneScape, like back in when I was like 14, 15, and then from then on I've just gone from games to games to games. I got into Formula 1 properly when Codemasters took it over. I think was 2009. I think it was their first game having it. Before that I played like the EA version. I think it was 2000, which I loved, but I didn't play that much. Got back into it from 2009. And kind of played almost every game from there. There was a few years I missed. I met Hobo in FIFA 2008, and since then we've pretty much gamed like just every single year.
Well, talk about that game a bit more, because that was a bit. Well, it was a bit more than that because we was in a random drop-in match, weren't we?
Yeah, it was completely random as well. So if anyone that doesn't really know FIFA or anything like that, back in FIFA 08, you literally just had to kind of queue for an online game, and it was 5 versus 5. You couldn't have any more. This was before like Ultimate Team, before like full 11 vs 11. It was literally 5v5, and I was randomly queuing, and Hobo jumped in. And I saw his gamer tag used to be a Yiddish Hobo, and I was like, a Yiddish Hobo? He goes, yeah, because I'm a Spurs fan, innit? And I was like, okay, mate. And then we kind of got chatting, we were just playing, and then we got on quite well, kind of clicked from the start, to be fair. Just kept playing, and then carried on, kept playing FIFA, and then yeah, we actually got scouted. So they used to, like there is leagues on Discord for Formula 1. Back then there was a FIFA league called Your FIFA League, and some random person in a drop-in, which actually turns out it's a big way to find people like FIFA players. Well, back then anyway, he was just in a random drop, and he goes, "Oh, you're quite good. Come try for my team on this website." So me and Hobo got into YFL, which we played for quite a few years until there's just plenty of knobheads, so you didn't want to play. And then actually that kind of transformed into the creation of VFL, because when YFL ended, when they took away like proper teams from clubs because people could hack and it was all pros, VFL came about, which I'm going to mention right now is full of bellends. Don't care, whatever.
Well,
it's literally run by bellends.
I suppose.
It's a podcast, and generally, well, to put it into perspective, me and Hobo joined the VFL Formula 1 League, and that's actually my first league that I joined. And it was okay, but it's just VFL, man. I knew what VFL was like from FIFA. It's run by bellends. You have to proper arse lick all the admins to get anywhere. I don't give a shit. Ban me from your website, I'm never going to play with you again.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, I don't care. So, that's how that came, and then from VFL, it actually came about where, like, us in DxT, we were kind of thinking of leaving it anyway, because it was terribly run as well, like, terribly run. And then me and Jake on the PS4 side were, like, the first to leave, because the Xbox side had a lot more involved in it, there was a lot more races over that side. Me and Jake went, sack 'em, it's shit. So we left, and then we looked for another league, and that's where we actually found Transnation.
Yeah,
but we can go into that more later. When people, if I don't know if obviously Gaz or Brett wants to, well, if Brett does an introduction, it'll probably be like 5 hours. But Gaz or Amar or Brett want to do an introduction, we can carry on from there.
We'll carry on with Gaz, our third host of this podcast. Flea was right, by the way. He has guessed it right. So before we get into Gaz's one, I am on the left with the big beard. Then we have the facts man himself, with the F1 Facts for Dummies in the middle, looking a bit Chinese where he's laughing.
Yeah,
and then
I was literally about to say, I didn't know Gaz was Chinese until you sent me that picture.
He was laughing.
I thought he's not laughing.
I'll be honest, Alex, I didn't know. I didn't know I was Chinese until I seen that picture.
I bet, mate. It looks like you're ordering from a Chinese takeout. It looks like you're about to order egg fried rice and chicken chow mein.
I am very limited with what I can create, right? It's just created in less than 24 hours.
Why couldn't his eyes been open?
Because he's laughing at what we're having to say.
Hobo, that's like racist, man.
It looked like I'm staring down the camera if my eyes were open, laughing at you like evil, like.
Yeah.
That's
how I laugh at Toby anyway. Well, anyway, about me. Well, my name's DxT Ferret, aka Gaz. F1 fan since I was little. I can remember like all the old races with Murray Walker commentating and that. Going right back to when like I was 2-3, I can remember the whole Senna era at the beginning. My first F1 game was actually Senna's GP2 on the Master System. So back in the day.
Oh, blimey! Yeah,
yeah. So it's like just a 2D screen of this car just moving side to side on a road that just kind of like slowly bent.
That little really bad 8-bit music as well, didn't it?
Oh yeah. And then you had the next game after that was a Grand Prix one where you could actually make your own circuit. And no joke, you could actually literally make anything on that. You can actually make a proper mad circuit. Yeah, but like that was how I got into F1 gaming. F1, I think I really started loving it when Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher was battling, because I could understand the rules more. I can understand the race more. So that was when I was really into the era. As for the gaming side, I've always been a gamer, more strategy based rather than racing. Got Gran Turismo when I got me first PlayStation, and I fell in love with the game. And then ever since I just started playing different racing games. As for the F1 game, it was actually 2019 I started playing it. My mate bought it for me for my birthday. Going like, you haven't tried this type of racing game? Yeah, I'll give it a go, because I've always stayed away from it because I was always into the arcadey fun ones. I didn't realise how much fun F1 could be on a game. And then moved across to 2020 and got stuck in a league that was terrible. I won't mention the name because it's unfair, but the league was absolutely terrible, and then kind of converted from a racer to a commentator because I used to know all the facts about the tracks, and that was how I got there. And then ended up in a little league. I met Hobo, and that's when the DxT adventure started then.
Yeah,
so I got to say, thanks for like dragging me along into it. It's pretty good.
No, anytime, man. I said I think DxT have a bit of talent spotters, really. Let's be honest. That's basically what we do. We've got no talent ourselves, so we just have to find it elsewhere.
I think the best thing with DxT is like we don't really mind who kind of joins it as long as we like them as a person. Like if we kind of get on, then we'll invite people into DxT. And obviously we like quality, and sometimes it just happens. Like for example, Amar's a sick racer. He's got quality, but we like him as a person, so he kind of fits in with DxT. DxT's kind of a DxT's a sort of thing which is kind of like ends up being like a family base. So if someone, we will always stick by people that are in DxT. Like so, if someone's done you wrong, we will always back you up. Obviously, if you're in the wrong, then we'll also be like, but yeah, I guess it depends. Like, we're not going to fight anyone, but like over like Discord and shit, we're fucking there. But no, but like, but and then also it's one of those things where like if. Say for example, it's an argument to do with like a Formula 1 game, and it's an incident. If you're in the wrong, we'll also be like, look, this is look at it from this point of view. You've done this is kind of on you. So you know, but we'll always back people, but we'll also point people in the right direction. I don't think there's ever really been any argument. I can't think of an argument that's been like between people and DxT.
No, I don't think I was saying that.
Against the people that are like legitimately like we've been snaked. Like most people have been snaked. But then, also, if you snake us, well, alright, this is more so for me, like, but it does apply to probably like Hobo as well. If you snake us, you're dead to us. Like, we don't need that unloyalty. Like, if you're loyal to us, you're nice to us. If you come to us and we're like, hey, yo, I want to go do bigger, better things, or whatever, that's fine. Full on. We'll back you up with that. But if you snake us, you're dead to us.
Basically, we'll go into the snaking bit a bit more because there's a bit more backstory behind that of how DxT was formed. But we'll go on quickly. Yeah. As you mentioned, Amar, we'll move on to Amar. So Amar, obviously, we know you as the aggressive, shouting racer driver that you are. Like you're always shouting, and we have to tell you to calm down so many times during a race. Like it's ridiculous. But
he does get a bit irate, to be fair.
He does. It's mad, isn't it? Like sometimes you've got to mute him because he's just so noisy.
Yeah,
in the
he doesn't stop talking. And
he
swears so much.
The same Amar here?
Yeah, 100%, man. And when he comes into those interviews, mate, he changes person. But when you're in a party with him racing, there are so many curse words. I've learnt so many new words being in a party with Amar while he's racing. I never used to swear at all, and now I can't stop it.
Christian boys,
yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. But now every other word is like an F word or something, or a C word. He loves the C word. That is his favourite word.
So loves Amar,
I can't disagree with anything you just said. But
I'm not gonna lie, I was waiting for Amar to go, yeah, you fucking cunt. Genuinely was waiting for that.
Maybe another day, but not today. So I think when I got into F1 was probably F1 2016. I think I've seen a few races before that, back in my day, like 2008. I think I saw my dad had it on the TV, and then walked in one time, and it was I really liked it. So.
But how did you get so quick on driving as well, though? Like you got like a natural talent, or have you just been like playing this F1 since day dot?
I'm not quite sure. I actually started on the pad, right? So on F1 2016, I just bought it with some friends. I think there was 4 of us, and we just bought it for fun. We were like, let's mess about on a racing game. So we played, messed about, and then I was like, you know what? This is quite fun. It's quite interesting. And that's all like we buy wheels, PS4 and stuff, and I pay like 150 something pounds for a wheel on the next game, 2017, I think it was, and I just really enjoyed it so much that before like exams or something, I just take like an hour break or something, do a race, an F1 race against the AI or something, just to chill out for a bit. And yeah, I just gelled with the game quite a lot, and especially with the wheel, it was very calming. So I just carried on, and then I think 2018 I started joining leagues and stuff, and I think the AI got a bit boring for me, so joined some leagues, met some people, and then it pushed me kind of. I think definitely pushed me to become better and more consistent at the game.
Yeah,
and I think the jump from 2018 and 2019 was probably the hardest jump that I made, because I think they got rid of ballast between 2018 and 2019, and I've got used to very oversteery cars, and then here comes a new game with very understeery cars, and I think my pace in 2019 was like at the start of it was ridiculously slow, and I had to try and pick it up, just try different driving styles, which is quite difficult for me, but end up picking up and pulling ahead, which was nice. And then, yeah, I think these two games have been quite similar enough. Adapted quite well to it. I think there's definitely more to be improved, obviously. Yeah, I think that's my main F1 story.
I like how he says, "Oh, I was a bit slow," and we're thinking, "Oh, yeah, a little bit slow." What, like our pace? Like, no, he was probably still quicker than us and still would have absolute bested us on the track. And he's like, "Oh, I was a bit slow. I should be doing like a 126.5 and do like a 126.8. It's just a bit. It's not up there. It's not up there."
I think I dropped a second between 2018 and 2019.
Oh God! Oh no! Second place, Amar. How did you cope with that?
Like a second every lap or something.
Oh jeez. But then we all, that's it. Every one of us here, so myself, Gaz, Nevo, Amar, all really met together because of one man sitting in the party with us, being quite quiet, Brett. So Brett, what's your story? How did you get to where we are now? How did you bring us all together, basically? Because it's all down to you. Let's be honest. While we're all sitting here.
So basically for me, my Formula One story sort of sits back in 1995. My auntie on my mother's side used to have the very first Formula One game on console for the PlayStation. I didn't think much of it. I was obviously only 5 years old, so just playing the game just as much as I could. Then I remember buying F1 98 on the same console. I think it was the first ever Formula One game to have a safety car in it, which was pretty cool at the time. Like full-fledged mechanical dramas and even like oil on track as well. So it was quite, for its time, it was quite a realistic game. And then I think I played F1 2001 on the PlayStation 2. And then after that, I kind of dropped off the Formula One radar for a while because they used to have highlights of the races every weekend on a specific sports show, and they stopped viewing it for some reason. And it wouldn't have been till about... Well, actually, it was 2013 when I found F1 2013 on PlayStation 3, and I thought, I'll just play it again just for the old time's sake. Obviously, I didn't know that Schumacher had retired, everything was in here, Vettel was a 4-time champion of the sport, and all that kind of stuff, and so I played with that, and then I met Michael Pollan and Mackenzie Stewart, and of course Mackenzie is the co-founder of the TNE. So we met him and fluffed around a bit like that. The first race I re-watched after all these years was when I was in Australia in 2014. We watched the German Grand Prix for the 2014 season, and obviously I'd fallen so out of the F1 loop I didn't realise they'd gone from, because when I watched it as a kid they had V10s and V12s. I had no idea they had moved to these V6 hybrid turbos until they'd mentioned it in the commentary, and I thought, okay, this could be interesting. Of course, when the first time you hear the cars going down, you're expecting to hear the like the old days, but instead it was more like a I'm like, what the hell is this?
That was probably a massive announcement to a lot of us as well.
Wow. Considering how long it's been since I'd been watching Formula One, it was just quite a bit of a surprise. But you got used to it in the end. And then I bought F1 2015, and I was an absolute god on it. I remember being in the top 10 fastest drivers of the world on that game. I just remember playing it and playing it and playing it. I actually had bought a wheel for the game too, but then I realised I was just so much quicker on the pad, so I flogged the wheel. I actually think I might have sold it to Mackenzie later down the line, actually. I can't remember. But then, 2016 came along. They changed a few of the aspects that was making me quick in 2015, so my pace dramatically dropped. And then, of course, about that time, just between the transition between 2016 and 2017, was about the time that I was saying to Mackenzie and another friend of ours, Alex Little, that I was getting sick of open lobbies. People were just driving like absolute idiots, and I thought, I'm going to either join a league or I'm going to make one. So I went around looking at leagues. Nothing really tipped my fancy, so I thought, stuff it, I'll make it. It can't be that hard. And Axel Eriksson, you'll come to know as Xeru, he was the first person to ever join. And then we just started to gain momentum up until, we started our first ever race on the league with 7 drivers, I believe. And then by the end of that mini season that we had, to which I won the championship for, we had a full grid. And then moving into the first season, we had so many people registered up that we could have had 3 tiers. The problem was, and you'll kind of remember this from the season 6 dilemma, is that most of the drivers didn't commit into the season. So we had a very below average tier 1, which I think was there was about 16 registered drivers, but we barely even have 6 or 7 drivers attending, and that's where I won my second title. And then tier 2 was always, I think tier 2 was the biggest tier. It always had roughly about 18, 19 drivers a week every weekend, and tier 3 was kind of in between with about maybe 10 or 11 every week. So tier 1 was, because tier 1 was meant to be no assist back then, but not everyone was too keen on it, so we kept it as it was, but people still thought it was no assist, so they didn't want to go up. And then by season 2 we sort of kicked back off. We got we initially started season 2 with 2 tiers, but we built a third one up almost probably about two races into the second season. So we got that. Then we had the tier 4 where I think Amar came in. Actually, yeah, I think it was tier 4 season 2 where Amar made his debut.
2? I think it was season 3, I thought, but
no, it was definitely season 2, because I remember you and Robin getting a front row lockout for Williams at Hungary, and then you subsequently took him out.
We had a bit of collision. Yeah, I remember that race.
Yeah. And then I think Dan and Alex joined. Well, Alex in particular joined with Jake about season.
We joined.
Season 4?
There was you had like the season was underway, but you had like this F5 that was like you kind of do when new people come in. You kind of set up this like random thing until the next season starts. So me and Jake were like in the F5 kind of pre-season thing, which I think was season 4 or 5. No, season 5 was our first full season, so this was season 4, but we just went fully in it.
Yeah, and then of course season 3 was my last ever race win in TNE. I only ever had like 4 or 5, so I wasn't the quickest driver on the category. My 2 championship wins sort of came out of luck, and then season 5, obviously, like Alex said, I got my last ever podium there. By that point, I was sort of contemplating quitting racing because, like Gaz, I was sort of starting to see more enjoyment out of commentary than it was actually racing. Enjoyed probably one of my worst seasons in season 5, which actually prompted me to make the decision to step down. Season 6 came along. Pace was sort of there at the start, and then I moved back up to tier 1 to sort of set an example to a lot of the drivers in tier 2 at that time that were too quick for the tier, and we were trying to get them to move up, but they wouldn't. So I moved up as an example to show them that it's possible. But in the end, season 6.5 came along because attendance in tier 1 dropped massively, so we needed to re-evaluate the drivers, put them in the tiers that they needed to be in. And then smack bang on 6.5, I announced my retirement from full-time racing. Stuck the car on pole position in the first race, but didn't exactly finish the race where I wanted to, and finished the season, I think, 6th in the title. And then today I dusted off the old F1 boots and made a comeback for one race and didn't do too badly, I don't think. And that's where we are today.
Yeah. Basically rounded it up, yeah. Because I want to. We'll go into a bit as well, like, and how we partnered up as well. But first, I was going to go into how DxT was originally founded, because not a lot of people really actually know we wasn't even an esports team back when we first started talking about it. Anyone could guess what we were doing? Like what the idea was behind the original DxT?
Call of Duty.
No. It was racing
Minecraft.
based. It was racing based.
Are you going back to Forza 2? You and
I'm
me?
going back to Forza 2. That's how far I'm going
Okay,
back.
cool.
So basically, I'll put it out all everyone's misery. It started off with me. Basically, I used to me on my own. I first started designing cars on Forza, because Forza had that ability where it's on Xbox. If everyone played it or anyone's seen it, where you can actually design your own liveries to cars and stuff like that. So I got kind of asked to make a lot of deliveries for people, because back then it was you couldn't just buy a livery on the store. You had to buy the whole car. So there was no market to buy a certain livery. You had to literally buy a whole car, which meant someone had to design it. So I always do a lot of that. I made a bit of money, real money, doing that as well. Me and at Nevo had the idea of creating a website for it. This website was called DxT Sports Racing. So DSR was the original. So that was what we originally was going by. Daxter it wasn't dexterous at all. And then Forza, was it Forza 3, the next one, Alex, or Forza the first Horizon game?
Or no, we took it into Forza 3, but I remember, like for myself, there was an issue when Forza. I think when Forza 3 came out, like I got it straight away, and I played the crap out of it for like the first day, and I downloaded a livery, and there was like a problem with like the online livery thing, and it deleted all of my progress.
Yeah.
So I never really bothered.
But yeah, because I mean that was the first time they actually brought in the marketplace where people can buy liveries. So with game cash rather than in-game, real cash, which meant that anyone who has anyway can get their own livery for free, which kind of killed our website really straight away. Within its infancy, we kind of it died in the water. So then when scrolling a few years forward, when we did join VFL. We had the idea of bringing DSR back as a racing team. And that was only between me, you, and Jake again. It was DSR Fwocko, DSR Leclerc, as Jake was called back then. I don't know if you had a DSR game or so. I don't think you did you?
Sorry, what?
DSR game or so. I don't think you had one, did you?
No. So, like, this kind of coincided, like, when you kind of, obviously you and me started back in Forza 2, and then when it got to, like, some of the later race games, well, I was playing, like, WoW a lot.
Yeah, I think we lost you for a little while.
Yeah, I think it was probably like a good 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, where I literally didn't even play console, really. I played the odd bit of FIFA, but that was about it.
And
then
also
I
during
never
this time
came
of
to
the
DSR.
transition, wasn't it? When us changing to Xbox from Xbox to
Yes.
PlayStation, and then back again, and then back again.
Yeah, so I know what happened actually. It was around FIFA 14 time. You guys still stayed on the Xbox. This is when like the PS4 came out and like the Xbox One came out. I went to PlayStation, and then you guys still had Xbox. And then after a while, I realised the FIFA community on PS4 was really bad in compared to Xbox. So then I got an Xbox and then joined you guys again. But we weren't really playing racing games. Well, I wasn't anyway. I would just play FIFA, and then we done the whole League FIFA thing. But yeah, then you guys had like your DSR. Yeah, that was at the stage where we were like
Me, you,
super
Bozzy,
like top 10 like team in the world. I was like top 20 midfielder in the world sort of thing, like the glory days.
Yeah, the good old
and
days.
then you and Jake kind of played more Formula 1 and stuff. I didn't really touch Formula 1 over those years really. I stopped I think at like I want to say like 2014, and then didn't play again really until like 2019 or something.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
That's probably about right actually, or maybe even 18, because that's when we had our last that crash, wasn't it? In the famous Canada crash.
Yeah, that thing that you caused, yeah.
So basically, DSR was only a joke really between me and my pal, my cousin Jake, DxT Anthony is known as now, and then I got chatting to a couple of guys in this league called VFL. One of these guys was called Alex. So this is where the snaking bit, by the way, comes in. This is like the crunch of the story now. So we decided talking about building this esports team, and back then it was just me and him, and some guy called Rico. Never heard of him. Barely spoken to him really. But he was in my eyes Alex's mate. So I was like, okay, not this Alex, by the way, third party Alex. But yes, this second Alex person. And anyway, so we started it off. We're just in the infancy of making it. Like, we've not even got down to actually getting a name yet. So the name Dexter was floated about quite a lot. It kind of died in the water because he wanted, I think the Daxter part, he didn't want, or he wanted the Daxter part, but he wanted to use the Daxter character from the game. I can't remember what game that's called though. Is it Daxter and
Jack and
Ratchet?
Dexter.
Jack and
Yeah,
Daxter,
Jack and Dexter. Yeah.
So he wanted to use
Good
the
game,
Daxter
too.
character as the mascot. And me and Rico was like, well, you can't because it's actually copyrighted and we'd probably get done. So then he kind of was like, oh, I'm not doing this. I'm like, okay, give up then. Week went by. I then thought of the name Dexterous. And I come to him and was like, oh, what about this? Dexterous. It means, good with your hands. And then it's also got another term it's got an evil meaning behind it as well. Because again, thank you Google, by the way, for this. I don't know how right this is, but it's from Google. So then Dexterous come about. We was in about the first month or two of Dexterous Esports. We had about 15 members, being myself, Rico, Alex. I don't think even you was even in this part yet. I think maybe you was on the
I joined just. I was talking to you about it, and I joined just after kind of shit hit the fan.
Yeah. So the shit that hit the fan was basically. So we had about say 15 people. This guy Alex was then talking to another esports team who had 3 members and was like, "Oh, we're going to merge." I was like, "Okay, but we're a bigger esports team than them to begin with. Like 3 versus 15. It's a bit of a strange merge. But if they're willing to come over to us and join us, then yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're going to change the name as well. So we're going to have their name." I was like, "Why are we going to have their name? Because it doesn't make no sense." So he didn't like that. It got to then a week later again, and he was messaging everyone in DxT saying, "Oh, we're starting a new esports team. It's called Vendetta." And everyone was messaging me going, "Wait, what's going on with Dexterous? What's going on?" I went, "Well, nothing. Nothing's told me anything." Turns out he was basically just trying to snake the whole esports team, and basically what he done was said, "Oh, it's between you have to pick between me and Hobo." Everyone picked me. No one chose him. Rico stayed over here as well. That's basically it. So he got shunted out. He had his Vendetta esports team for about 3-4 weeks after that, and then Vendetta died because it was only him in it. And then at some point during that, obviously this is when Alex and Jake then joined TNE, told us about TNE, and then Rico started talking to Brett about the Xbox side of TNE. So I'm not sure how that bit come about because I was only concentrating on what was DxT doing. So
Okay.
Brett can probably
Okay,
lie about that.
So basically, I think this was about season 2, roughly. We got to a point where I was talking to the committee group at the time about possible expansion, and I had said to them, my ambitions were to go Xbox, PC, and whatever other console ability there is. There was actually once upon a time some discussions about the mobile app being used as a potential league outlet. Could still very well happen, I don't know. There's plenty of discussional point about it, but so I initially made the Xbox server, and my initial idea was to actually eventually get an Xbox so I could manage it, but financial aspects behind it really didn't play out, so I thought I'll take a gamble and try and find someone who will join the league and then run it for me. I had a couple of guys who initially started it out, but unfortunately they couldn't really commit to it. And then I was just scouring through the Codemasters forums, and I came across a message from Rico, who was asking if there was any Xbox leagues out there looking for an esports team to join. And I thought I'll take a gamble with it. And I messaged them and I said, "Look, I've got an Xbox league in the works. I don't have anyone that can currently run it. But if you want to join and, try and gather them, I'll keep trying to gather members and I'll organise it to what I can do to get you guys racing and all that stuff." And he actually turned around and said, look, it's not too much trouble with me. I'll run it for you. And, we sort of just kicked it off from there. And unfortunately, the Xbox side has sort of committed suicide and it's Dan's been trying to resurrect it, but I just don't think it's
been difficult.
I just
for
don't
Xbox
think there's
side.
any.
Because
I
the
think
main problem
I
is-
actually think like the.
Go on, Brett. Sorry.
I just think that the not so much on the PlayStation side, but it does look like that the Xbox side of F1 is starting to die off in place for either PC racing or I guess another form of Forza Motorsport or something.
Well, it's a bit of a strange one because we're in that kind of weird area now where this game has kind of lost its hype. Where when the game comes out, obviously every new game, we always have floods of interest about people wanting to join a league. And it seems like they then join the league and then realise that their pace isn't there and thereabouts, so they're not as fast as they think they was, and then they end up leaving. So I was talking to Rico because obviously I've made the jump from Xbox back to Xbox to PlayStation now. Bearing in mind, the reason I've done that was because I always had the Xbox. Nevo went over to PlayStation. Oh no, sorry, we all went over to PlayStation together. Me, Nevo, and Jake. And then I had the Xbox still, and I had an Xbox wheel. So I didn't want to give up racing with my brand new wheel because I've just literally bought it. So I stayed on the Xbox side and raced every Saturday back then in the Xbox side of it, and I would race on a Saturday, and then basically that was all I did. And it turned out I was actually only playing Xbox on the wheel. That was it. That's all I was doing. That's all I was playing F1. Nothing else. I thought I'd make the change. Do you know what? I've said I might as well just go over to PlayStation. Made it my last season. Say goodbye to everyone. Still talk to obviously with DxT. We're still chatting all that. And then I was talking to Rico last month, and I said that I'll try. How's your racing going? How you been going? How you getting on? He went, I've not found any leagues. I'm struggling. All the leagues are either no involvement, no activity, or they're just full of complete race. What's the word? Unranked lobby people, like take each other out lap one, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, let me try and resurrect this then, because I feel quite bad because I'm happy on the PlayStation. I've got so many leagues running right now. I've got my own league as well, the TTFL league running, which is on the Fridays now. So I thought, let me just try and do something for him. So I tried to start it up. We had a lot of interest at the beginning. Say 14, 15 people. It's like, yeah, well, we're going to do it. We'll react. Yeah, we'll do it. Got down to, picking your cars. No one messaging. Everyone's gone quiet. People are starting to leave. And then when we got down to our first race week was meant to be last week. And I think 6 people showed up. And I was like, okay, look, this is no point. We might as well just hold off, wait until the new game, and fingers crossed we get something then. But it's just different. I think it's just a strange one on the Xbox. It doesn't make no sense how the PlayStation is currently thriving, then the Xbox is slowly dying. It's a bit of a strange one. But obviously it's difficult for us to comment because all of us are mainly on PlayStation. So yeah, that's basically that. So that's how DxT was really formed. Then we started doing all this. That's basically where we are now. But yes, it's kind of a strange journey, really, if you think about it. From all like the little snakes in the grass we've had to deal with along the way.
Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's no different from T&E's aspect. I mean, a lot of people may have heard of the league race spec. That was created through snake in the grass measures here in T&E. The owner of Race Spec was a committee member of T&E, and shit sort of hit the fan at the end of season 2, and he actually ended up getting banned from T&E, and so out of spite he pretty much created his own league, and fair enough, his league's gained a lot of traction and momentum, but we've developed as a league, we've gained more momentum, and we've gained sponsors.
Yeah, that's very true actually. Yeah, you said first league I've actually raced it with actual proper sponsors. Did you want to talk about Drink Alchemy a little bit?
Yeah, so the deal sort of with Drink Alchemy just kind of came up as like it was actually really out of the blue. So I know the creator of Drink Alchemy, Anthony Flask, he joined the league sometime through the end of last season in the US Nationals, and I think part of me sort of felt like something was a bit up with him when he was asking all these questions in relation to console gaming, PC racing, and all that stuff, because it was like he was trying to gather information as to finding the ideal platform for something, and then it might have been actually a day after that, I got a huge ass DM from him stating that he was interested in he was starting up this drink business and he wanted to promote TNE as a major sponsor in it. He would provide graphics and all that kind of stuff to boost our video quality and all that kind of stuff. And all we would have to do is do organic plugging of the brand, and of course it was only an American-based object, but of course we've been commentating it throughout the regionals of the US, the US, the European, and the national series as part of promoting it. And good news on that front for the people in America. They've actually just received their batches of drinks, and they're actually now sending them out to their respective orderers. So that Drink Alchemy is now officially to be able to be ordered in the US.
Oh wow!
And they'll be able to, at some stage in time, once they get all the clearances and all that, they will eventually be able to deliver around the world. So big props to Anthony and his group there if they are watching this. I'm not sure if they would be, but if they are, congratulations. We've also struck up a deal with, we had an initial deal with Avlad Gaming. That fell through a couple of days, probably about an hour after the announcement we made for it on Discord. Apparently, it was a group decision. They initially agreed at first, and then for some reason one of the guys sort of turned their decision. So Adlad pulled out, but the guy that I was talking to, who was their representative, had his own graphics design company, Nazon Visual and Graphics. So we've still got them on board. Of course, you guys are on as our partners, and there may be later down the line a new potential sponsor for this league down the line, but that won't come out until probably about the start of the Drink Alchemy Supercars Championship.
Ooh, this just in. Potential. I love the way that I said a game has kind of brought everyone like to this point now as well. Like considering that we all just come from complete different like locations, areas. I said I actually my best friends I've met through this, like through gaming. It's just ridiculous. I think there's got so much potential behind this whole gaming aspect. It's ridiculous.
I think a lot of it comes from like all of our mentalities, right? Like we've all joined different leagues. Like obviously Brett kind of made TNE because he was sick of doing these crappy like 5-lap like online lobbies. Myself and Hobo, like we got just tired of the poorly run leagues, all the absolute idiots that like end up creating leagues.
Just to sort of interject with what you're saying there, Alex, it wasn't so much always just the 5-lappers. We would join 25%ers, 50%ers, even a couple of 100%ers back in the day, and it just didn't matter because it was public. Anyone could go in. There was no level of control. You could get taken out, and all you could do was bitch and moan about it, and the person would just sort of ignore you. So it was just a lack of control with open lobbies. You just go in, you race, you get your race ruined. You couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. So, but it's not fun racing like that. That's the thing. Like you want to go online and race cleanly with other people and kind of test your ability against other people. But people just go, I'm just take you out. Like it's just not fun at all. And like the experience I had in another league was just awful. Like it wasn't even awful. Like really it was just
it got to a point where DxT was really targeted as a issue.
Well, yeah.
When it was just because we were the only ones in there that had a voice, basically.
Yeah, but even on like the PS4 side, like myself and Jake, like even because of the association, we were told, like me and Jake, we would just race. We didn't really cause like any issues at all. Like we're not dirty drivers. We just race. We like it. You know what I mean? And then we were targeted because of the association. It's just like this isn't even fair. Like fair enough, if someone makes a mistake in the Xbox side, then fine, punish them for whatever. Like that's fair. But to bring like hatred kind of towards everyone just through association when there's not been any issues is ridiculous. And people, they were just so petty and pathetic. So me and Jake actually stayed in VFL. Obviously there was going to be like a whole group boycott of that certain league at the same time, and then the Xbox people decided to kind of carry it on and see how it went. And me and Jake just went, nah, you know what, we're gone now. It's like we're like, obviously me and myself and Jake came to the PS4 side to kind of upstart the PS4 side, so we were just like, you know what, sat this off. There's no point. We weren't even enjoying it. Like it felt like a chore in the end to go and race, which it shouldn't be about. It should be about, oh, you know what, it's Friday night. I get to race tonight. Sick. And like in TNE, you kind of get that feeling like, oh, cool, it's race tonight. Like I'll race. Whereas it just got to the stage where it was like, oh, I'm racing tonight. Brilliant. I don't really want to, but I'm just going to shut up because it's the sort of mentality I have. Like if I say I'm going to turn up to something, I'd like to turn up to it.
I think it was a lot easier for you guys to make the jump away from this league. I will stop naming it now, but yeah, from this league because you had
I'll name it one more time.
Maybe before we let this get a bit out of hand, maybe we should let Gaz and Amar have a say in all this.
This was actually before I really got involved. Really, I was kind of like, with me personally, I was kind of looking for something different. I was bored of like commentating on 12-person races. It was just boring for me. And then I stumbled across one league that's where I met Hobo, and Hobo kind of like asked me because I was commentating on a Friday, and this guy replaced me with his mate. And then, so Hobo's like, oh well, you can commentate for me on a Friday if you like. And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then now they want me back. It's just like I can't do both. But yeah, it's just TNE kind of like fell from that as well. It's like I joined TNE on the whole thing. I was like, oh, I'll commentate because it's a bigger thing. There's more chance of commentating a good race, and it has been a different experience. I would say some of the racing has been absolutely fantastic. That race I commentated with you, Brett, absolutely fantastic race to commentate on.
Yeah, that one was. I mean, if you had said to me at the start of the race that Andrew Lee, who was dominating the race from start to finish, would then have a puncture with, I don't know, what was it, about 5 or 6 laps left to go, and then the top two after that having a puncture on the final lap, I would have said you're just dreaming. But yeah, that was certainly one of the more. That race to me would actually sort of rival a particular race that I helped commentate with in the regionals for the US Monday night when Michael Garone Jr. just got narrowly pipped. Well, they went side by side on the final corner, and they had a drag race up to the line. And I think if it wasn't for the penalties for Michael, that he would have won that race by 0.00001. It was so close.
Yeah, it was absolutely a fantastic race.
Just got a message from Matthew Green that said he loves league racing. He'll love the league he's in at the moment. Originally started to challenge himself, but and from it he found a great bunch of people in TNE and DxT, and I love it. Well, thank you, Matt. I said it's quite nice. Obviously, Matty's Green is obviously the newest member. I say, is he the latest member of TNE?
I think we had 2 others before, just after him. In the US side, but yeah, he's a fresh face.
Yeah, fresh face. I said it is a pleasure racing. It's good because I said I love racing against TNE people because I know me and Brett, we're very similar with our foundings of who joins our particular esports teams. And I know that I'm going to get a good race, so I'm racing a TNE member. It's always fun. And like we had a bit today, Brett. I literally, I'm saying to you, Brett, like, come on, race me. You're like, oh, I can't. Like, I ain't got the tires. I'm like, come on, man, race me. Like, it was quite fun. It was quite fun.
Yeah, well, as far as first races back go, from literally, like, for people watching, I haven't been on F1. Obviously, I still commentate for the main tiers and all that stuff, but I haven't actually touched it with a wheel since December of last year, and that was for the Sprint Mode Championship. And I didn't think I would actually finish the race, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought I would have crashed or spun out or just put it in the pits and something like that. But yeah, it's not too bad. But the creation of our own personal esports team has sort of dragged on quite a good effective drivers. So you've got TNE Honda, who races in the national season, no assist tier 1. You've got Theodore, who won the season 6.5 assist division. Won the first ever TNE race in the no assist nationals in Baku. You've got Michael Groen Jr., TNE Top Gun 8827, TNE Hawk, who challenged Michael for the US Regional Championship last season. We got some really good names, and obviously DxT do as well, because you've got Amar. You had Piers Langford, Monster Blue. You and Alex are obviously.
We still have him. I think he's doing other things now. He's left the TNE side, but he's still doing little bits. Yeah, we've got to see myself and Nevo. We've got Anthony, and then we're not very big on the PlayStation side yet. Obviously, we're getting a few members. We are getting a few more. We've got a potential new one currently under probation now. So fingers crossed that might come back with something. You never know.
We have kind of stopped recruiting though, because the one thing we didn't want to do is we wanted to kind of have equal members on each side. Yeah. So obviously the Xbox side, when like straight away we already had like 10 plus drivers. So when me and Jake joined for PS4, there was like nothing, and then I slowly recruited more and more people through like the first proper season in TNE, and then I was kind of the way I do it, like I find people during a race, and if I race with them and like, or if I'm commentating them and I like they're clean racers, but they're also kind of good guys, I'll casually kind of like send them like a private message like, oh yeah, you like we're for DxT, like we're not like a traditional esports team sort of thing, because like, but if you want to join, if you would be interested, like we like you as a person, we like you as a racer, if you like us as well, if you want to join tier DxT, then we would happily have you on board. Like, there's no monetary gain or anything like that. You can race under the tag if you would like, and we kind of try and pick people like that, people that we know that we can kind of trust, people that don't cause grief in like Discord. Like everyone can get irate at times, like it does happen, but people that aren't just constantly causing grief and things like that to an extent. And then it kind of built from there, and it got to the stage where Xbox side weren't recruiting, but the PS4 side were, and then people on the Xbox side were like, hang on a minute, how come PS4 people can join? But it was just, we were just catching up numbers, but then we kind of stopped it. And I think our latest recruitment technically has been Amar, but Amar was kind of an affiliate from before. But our last kind of driver that properly joined was Matthew Smith, DxT Matty, as he's now, DxT Matty as he's now called. But again, great guy, good racer. And then Amar's been the last person to officially kind of join DxT, but of course he was an affiliate like long before that. But yeah, so I mean, don't feel bad if you don't get a message from me, but like we're just not actively properly recruiting. If anyone that is listening to this who likes DxT, likes what we do, likes myself, Hobo, Jake, you know what? No one likes Jake. No, I'm joking. He's lovely. Just likes it like in general, and you want to be part of like the DxT family, then by all means, like get in touch with myself or Hobo. We'll happily take people on board from either side, either platform. And you can be part of the DxT family. Like there's the DxT Discord and everything like that. You don't have to technically be a racer. You could be a commentator. Like Gaz is the perfect example of that. Like he is dabbling in racing now, but his primary thing was kind of was like a commentary side of it. So
I'm only
the newest member.
Technically. Commentary,
I'm only racing because someone recruited me to try it out. I'm happy to step aside.
Don't say I recruited you like that.
It wasn't you, was it?
Was it not me?
It wasn't you who recruited me for the race. No, it was Lexi.
Oh, okay. Well, it's the same thing. Same thing. My missus.
So yeah, Lexi was the one who got me back into racing again. I stopped racing. I gave up. My wheels broke my wheel a while ago and just stopped racing completely. And it was like I wasn't enjoying it anyway, so I wasn't really too fussed. I didn't mind reserving, but then this Thursday league came up and I thought, why not? I might be competitive, which today I really found out I'm really not.
Well, actually, perfect segue, while you bring up the Thursday league, we have got a little segment planned for this particular, and I've got a little graphic for it. It's called Twat to Sat. So Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday to Saturday. So we're round up of basically what all we've seen so far in the TNE regionals. Because there's been a lot. Let's be honest. I think, first of all, it's got to mention that Samad's going to have to be one to watch. Did he maintain his record, Brett, of so far? 102.5, wasn't it, around here? around Austria?
102.4.
102.4.
No, I think he did a 2.8 today, so no, I don't think he ended up beating it, but he's still got the nationals on Saturday to try and go one better.
But yeah, so it's going to be. What are we thinking so far anyway? Obviously, me and Alex, me and Gaz watched the first race on the Tuesday. We commentate on that. We saw Samad's just literally demolish the track. We saw Amar as well. He's up there as obviously Amar is always going to be up there. So yeah, Alex, Gaz, Gaz, what do you think's happening?
Ooh. Do you know something? I'll be honest. I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing how Ken Doyle does. Because every race I've seen Ken on, he spins out and he comes back. Then he spins out and he comes back again. He is Mr. Boomerang of TNE. So it'd be quite good to see how he does on Saturday.
Yeah, when you talk about the boomerang, I always literally picture that image of when Ken was racing in China and got, I think it must have been the worst start I've ever seen in a Formula 1 race. A drive-through on his first lap, he jump-started. Then he got another then he broke his wing on a car. So that's in the first lap. So he had to pit for his new wing, then go for his drive-through. He is stone dead last, nearly about to be lapped. And where he finished fifth in the end, Alex?
Yeah, I think he came back from fifth. And another part of Ken, I feel like I don't know like the whole consensus behind it, but I kind of feel like Ken's kind of underrated. Like we've commentated on him for quite a while, I would say, and he's pretty much always really consistent. But he's also got pace. But I feel like sometimes it's not proven in like qualifying or something like that, and maybe not underrated by people, but I just feel like he's not. When you look at some of the races that are during the race, you usually you kind of notice maybe 1, 2, or 3, who like you think, oh, right, it's going to be a battle between these, or maybe sometimes it's like, oh, there's one standout person. But I feel like Ken has the opportunity to like kind of almost like at least on Tuesdays like win every race that he's in. Like he's a quick racer and he's consistent, good racecraft. And for the first four races maybe of the Tuesday League, he was probably the unluckiest person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's been so bad.
Like you literally couldn't make it up, and every single time he came back to a respectable position. And that's just not fluke. Like the odd one time, yeah, you could say a fluke, but every single time he managed to get something out of the race. That's no fluke. Kenny's a very good racer, great racecraft, and I think he's kind of slept on in terms of ability.
I've had the privilege of sort of seeing him rise through the ranks. Obviously, I think the first race for tier, I'm trying to think whether it was tier 3 or tier 4, but the first race for whichever one it was that Ken debuted in was actually Monaco of all places. And I remember there being a massive crash just out of the Noval chicane. Somebody got turned around and it created such a massive Constantina effect. And I think he was the only person who actually technically got himself out of that fix, and he won that race. And I kept an eye on him for a good time, and he just got steadily better and better as each sort of race went on each season. And then, of course, I had the privilege of racing against him in Season 3 when I moved back down to Tier 3 to sort of reevaluate myself after having a pretty torrid Season 2. And he won 3 races, I won 1, and surprisingly, through all that, I still beat him in the championship. I think he finished 3rd, I finished 2nd, behind Fabio. And and then he went into Tier 1. He was like me. He wanted to show people of Tier 2 in Season 6 that there's potential. So he came with me to Tier 1, and he actually, like, when the 6.5 option came about, I messaged him and said, you're more than welcome to go back to Tier 2 now. You've shown your example. And he said, no, I'm going to stay in Tier 1 for the rest of the season. And I think he was actually planning, because with the evaluations for TNE, we have a sort of a prospect where the committee can decide if they want to stay in the tier that they were in last season, or if they want to reevaluate themselves. And initially Ken said he would stay in Tier 1. But then a couple of days later, he was like, actually, on second thought, I'm going to reevaluate. And he did reevaluate back into Tier 2. But yeah, from what I've heard, obviously I can't watch the race. Like, I could, but I tend to watch the no assist Tier 1 a bit more. But from what I hear, he's done reasonably well in Tier 2.
Yeah, it's great watching him. Like I said, he's just a driver that you can actually you don't know what's going to happen with him. Like, he has such bad luck, like Alex said. Yeah, he comes back, and it's just like Rocky moment. It's really good to see someone that has this bad luck doesn't just go, I'm DNFing, I'm ending this now, but just keeps on plugging away and keeps on trying and ends up finishing well. Like, he's actually quite up there in the championship, I believe. So he's doing quite a good job.
I think he's still leading it, is he not?
Yeah,
I know he had a poor race around France.
I think he missed one, didn't he, as well? Oh no, did Harry miss one?
Well, no, because Harry's missed 2 races.
Yeah.
I actually don't think Harry will be racing anymore from this point onwards.
Oh, well, it opens up the championship, I suppose, a little bit.
Work commitments.
Oh, that's fair enough. So, yeah, back to the Tuesday League. We saw, I think, as our first ever different race winner this week. It was DxT Matty won the race from some shocking events when we saw Crom's car, Romino in the McLaren, had a really bad penalty, got done under for speeding under VSC, retired in the pits, or he thought he did. Car's come back out on track because it's a drive-through penalty, and then carried on another lap to take out his teammate who was fighting for the champion, or for the win, because he's fighting someone that he was fighting Samaz, who happened to be a reserve, and then his teammate took him out, and it literally opened the door up for people I think it was Robin, Chain Game Wow, TP, Thierry, and Joe Roberts, Speedy, really coming out and fighting for the last 10 laps for this potential race win. And then now, all of a sudden, these guys are getting penalties now. They're fighting, they're going along. Out of nowhere, DxT Matty just pulls up and just has no penalties, under the radar, and just wins the race. And it was just absolutely shocking to see, because these 3 guys we were focusing on, we didn't even talk about DxT Matty until the last lap. It was quite strange.
I think that's the beauty of like the kind of esports racing though, like especially we see it all the time, like you see people, pretty much everyone around the track is going to get usually at least 1 penalty, and then you've got these people who keep clean, might not be like the main talking points of the race because they're kind of out on their own, and then come to the last 5 laps, all of a sudden you notice, oh, you know what, they were like 5-6 seconds behind, they're now only like 2, and these guys in front of them have at least 3 seconds. Like, this is up for grabs now. Like, if they pull away from him, then obviously, yeah, fine. But if he stays how he's doing, he's going to pick up a race win here. And that's exactly what happened in Matty's case.
Yeah, we've also got Amar is here. He's been very quiet. Because I don't think he wants to talk about Tuesday very much. But Amar, do you want to just go into a bit of detail what happened to you on Tuesday? For those who don't know. Bearing in mind you are the championship leader by about a good 50 points before this race.
I mean, my Tuesday race wasn't particularly great. It was, I think I started 4th or 3rd and lost 3 positions on the start, going to turn 3. And then I was just stuck behind Robin or Chain Game Well. I tried making like an immature move, I'd say as an impatient move, down into second to last corner and just, lost. I tapped him and I spun, causing quite a big collision with the rest of the field. Luckily, not too many people were impacted by it, but I think I recovered to 10th or 9th place, was it? Just due to penalties?
9th, yeah. You with Get Carter, your teammate, just DxT Get Carter, just behind you, I think.
Ended up with a double points finish, which is first for a long time, but I don't know. I don't think Austria's been my track, especially like statistically, from where I started to where I finished. I think the past 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons. I don't think it's more of like an I don't know how to say it, but like artificial racing kind of track where you just get DRS train after DRS train. It's more just whether you can get into the 1 second and stay in the 1 second rather than enjoying the battles. I don't know if I've described that very well. Like tracks like Japan or Belgium, where you like it's a driver preference track where you enjoy the track and you like the twisty bits of Japan, and it feels good to drive, or you like the erosion, all that bit. It's not like one of those tracks where it's one of those enjoyment tracks. It's more of just DRS train. If you make a mistake, it's okay because you've got the DRS for the next corner and you catch it back up. It's not one of those tracks.
No, it is a very strange track. I said, I like it. But it's not very challenging. But we'll go into that when I talk about the Thursday side. I didn't get to watch the Wednesday side particularly because I think I was sorting out this for today. But Brett, you was commentating the Wednesday side of it, the Wednesday regionals.
Yeah, I sub-commentated with Robert and Maddie for the race. It was pretty sort of one-sided with Samad sort of running away with the race. I actually don't remember too much about it. I don't think there was any major incidences or anything that sort of screamed issues. I know. I'm actually drawing blanks a little bit on that race yesterday.
Not all races are going to be memorable, but we'll move on to the Thursday one, which was today. Obviously, that should be fresh in our heads. Everyone apart from Nevo was racing in it. I think I'm right in saying that. See, the thing, my issue. So me and Gaz are full-time members of the Thursday League. I chose to be Gaz is obviously wanting to be a full-time to get back into this. Obviously, the racing side. I think it's safe to assume, Gaz.
Yeah, that would be like the safest assumption, really. But I'm happy if there's other people who's a bit more competitive that need space, then I'm happy to step aside because I know I'm not quite there yet.
Well, I think that's why the Thursday League's brilliant because it is. Obviously, the Tuesday League is known probably as the fastest. But I think me and Alex do take credit for that.
Has the best commentators on it, which means all the fastest drivers want to race because they know they're going to get top dollar commentary. But
But yeah, we do joke about that, but I think it's probably not along the point. But no, honestly,
we joke about it, but it's the truth.
I just think it's because it was the first one. I think it's got a lot of the first drivers in it, it's like fast drivers in it, and then people have seen that and go, "I want to do it," and then it kind of filters down. So the Thursday League isn't full of the fast drivers, isn't full of the sluggish drivers, but it's kind of a good place for the newer drivers to really get involved in this. I chose to be a full-time in this one because I didn't feel comfortable coming in as a reserve, and I felt like I was taking points from people, or I was battling people who are full-time, and it felt a bit unfair that I'm then overtaking them and they're going to get a bit, oh, hang on a minute, he's a reserve, that's not, I'm a bit downhearted now. So I thought if I make myself a full-time driver, and I don't necessarily try hard, this is really a test for me for really Saturday, because that is the one where I'm fighting for a championship. So that's what I really use it for. But what I find the problem with this track, like Amar said, there's no challenge behind it. It's just staying within that 1 second. And I think if you stay within that 1 second on that first DRS straight, the home straight, you make DRS in the second straight. You then make it in the third straight. All you've got to do is then for 4 corners, stay within 1 second of the car ahead. It's the first track or race I've ever come away from where I've been chasing, but I've not been sweating. I've not actually had to put a lot of concentration into this. It's because I think that's safe to say. Anyone disagree with me on that one?
No, I agree completely.
Yeah, it's one of the first tracks that you get to the calendar where you're literally just all I've got to do really is stay within that second gap, and you might get lucky. I think what a lot of people tend to do, because there could be 6 car sort of train, and if you're at the back of that, you're thinking, well, if those lot fight and someone goes wide, I'll get a position, and then just keep that. The hope that keeps happening, and then if you're quicker, then you might be able to pull out of that 1 second, or you'll just have a train behind you in the end.
Yeah, I think Austria is kind of one of those circuits that on pen and paper it looks pretty simple. To race it, it's a little bit more cut and dry than what it looks like, because obviously you've got your track limits, your track limitations. Like you say, it is a bit of a DRS train now because of the 3 DRS zones. You've also got to be kind of mindful about, especially when you're racing in sort of these divisions where you've got no assist drivers, you've got full assist drivers, you've got medium assist drivers. So you've always got to look at the bigger picture when you're battling with people. So, like if I battle with Dan, well, for Gaz, for example, who I know uses quite a few assists, and I'm me who doesn't use assists, I know that if we're going to go side by side into a corner, he's going to likely try and break later because he knows that ABS is going to get him into that corner before I do. And I think that was one example that I think I can remember on Wednesday, is that Thierry was in a battle with an ABS user and he actually had to try and break about the same place as the ABS users would, and that's a very tough feat to be able to break at the same breaking point as a ABS user and still keep the car on the track through locking up. So it's an easy track in terms of getting the lap right, but it is a very difficult circuit in keeping it on the track and keeping it, breaking a pack when you're stuck in traffic.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to actually mention as well, obviously one question quickly, Brett. Speedy's asked in the chat, are you going to be racing next Thursday for Great Britain?
Sorry, who asked that?
Joe Roberts.
No, Joe. I might. I am still on annual leave for next week, so I might give it another go, but I think for Austria, for me, it was an easy track to come back to because there isn't as much stopping and starting as certain other tracks. It's a very quick lap, so you kind of readjust a lot easier than normal. And the strategy is quite clear cut. At Silverstone, the strategy is not as cut and dry as Austria, and the degradation there is quite nasty. So I'll think about it, but probably likeliness that I might not. I don't know. We'll see.
I said, I'll definitely be racing. I'm actually in Birmingham that week. So there is a seat there, Gaz. Gaz. There is a seat there, Brett, if you do want it. So yeah, I do want to mention, obviously, a bit of a surprise driver we've had over the last few weeks, I suppose, as Izzy. Izzy being fairly new to the Thursday League. One sec. Bless me. Live audience, what'd you get? Live action, what'd you get? So, so Izzy's been fairly recent in the T&E world. And do you know what? She is racking up some points right now. Like, she overtook me last week. Like, I've only been in it like 1 race, 2 races, 3 races, but that was quite a bit of a shock. Like, she's actually improving quite a bit, which is what we like to see in T&E, yeah?
Yeah, well, I mean, she qualified within 4/10 of me today at Austria, and her time was quite respectable. I think it was a 1 minute 4.9 to my 1 minute 9, 2.5. So, she's still got a long way to go. I mean, in terms of that, but the more she races, the more comfortable she's going to get, and the more comfortable she gets, the better she's going to get at racing as well. And I followed when I had my bad start and she got ahead of me. I actually followed her around for a little bit just to see how where her strengths and weaknesses lay on the circuit. And then of course she made a mistake at turn 2 and opened the door for me to kind of zoom on ahead, and then from there I didn't actually see her again because I think she had a moment coming through turn 6 on that same lap, and then I just didn't see her again. But she did her first race at Canada. She scored a single point, so she became the second female driver in T&E to score points. The first was Anne at Azerbaijan, I believe, and then she went to France and finished in the top 5 once she took out all the reserves. And then I don't know if she picked up points today. I don't know. I'd have to look back on the amount of reserves in the race, but I mean, maybe a little bit of that does come down to the amount of reserves in the race versus full-time drivers. But I think as the season comes along, as she gets more and more up to speed with everything, I think she'll get better and she'll start to challenge a lot more of the pointy end of the field. And it's a good calling card to any of the female drivers that, female gamers that sort of see themselves fearing joining league races like this because they don't want to be judged because people the wild stereotypes that saying that females just don't have the same depth perception as men in racing terms. I mean, that's complete bullshit. I mean, in New Zealand, we have a category called the Sangyong Racing Championship, and so they race these sort of semi-ute sort of vehicles from the Sangyong brand, and that's being dominated by a female. And the only competition she has is a 14-year-old kid. So she's beating all these big shot names like, I mean, I wouldn't be able to name any of them that anyone would know, but, you know, she's beating these these blokes who have probably been doing this most of their life, and she only joined this season 2 seasons ago, and she just started mopping the floor with them. So you can't, people can't go and say female drivers just don't have that same perception in motorsport, because it's not completely true. I mean, yeah, you could look at the likes of Danica Patrick and all that kind of stuff, but Danica Patrick won a race in NASCAR, I think, or IndyCar, or whatever one it was. And then that lady who just recently died,
Shabine Smith.
Sophia?
Shabine Smith.
Shabine Smith.
So, yeah, she won in her class. She won the Le Mans 24-hour.
She still holds the record for the fastest Nürburgring in a van.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah,
she does.
And the other thing too is that there's still the record. There is still a record held for the first Formula One female driver to score points, and that was a Spanish driver back in 1986 at the Spanish Grand Prix. She scored points and became the first female driver in Formula One to score points, and that still hasn't been beaten. It's unfortunate that I don't.
I think the closest we got recently was Toto Wolff's wife, Susie. She was a reserve driver for Williams, wasn't she, for a little while?
Yeah. Well, you've got Tatiana. You do have Tatiana Calderon and Alfa Romeo, but I don't think she's gone now to Super Formula in Japan, so I don't think we'll see her on the grid unless one of the drivers has an injury during a crash, like a crash, and then she'll have to. But even then, Robert Kubica's probably the next in line for that anyway.
It would depend on who it is. If it's Kimi, then it'll be Robert. But if it's Giovinazzi, Tatiana's got the first call up on that.
Oh, right.
Mm.
But like, it's like you got to also think that there's like out of like with the new announcement from the FIA about the women's series now coexisting along F1 through some of the venues, we're going to see a lot more of these female drivers coming out of their shell and possibly make a step towards F1.
Yeah, there's an interesting comment, just to backtrack back onto the Austria thing. Comment here from a guy named Andrew. I don't know if that's any Andrew we're related to. Setup is definitely key in Austria. Tough to get straight line speed as well as downforce for Sector 2 and 3, and the dirty air in Sector 2 is brutal. And then according to Izzy, everyone scored points, even you guys.
Wait,
no way. My
First
first point, and I came last on the track as well.
You did. Yeah, we crossed the line together. We crossed the line together.
Even though you did reverse into me.
Whoa! So right, get this right. So I'll quickly jump to that before we talk about Andrew's message. I'm talking to Gaz. I'm like, okay, Gaz went, let's cross the line together. I was like, all right, then okay. I mean, we're on the street, and he's zooming up ahead of me. I mean, I thought we'd cross the line together. He went, oh, sorry, hobo. He slams on his brakes. I'm right behind him, and I just rear-end him. Like, what are you doing?
But you took me out at turn 3 when you reversed into me. I had no wings, I had no downforce, I had no control over that car whatsoever.
You're great, and I'm gonna let you finish, but you mean turn 2?
No, it's turn 3.
No, it's turn 3.
No, we're not opening those can of worms. It is not turn 3. The hairpin is turn 2.
It's turn 3. It's turn 3. It's officially turn 3.
It is only turn 3 in MotoGP terms.
Right, it is actually turn 3 because it's 10 turns on the whole track officially. Red Bull confirmed it, because so do FIA.
It became 10 turns officially because MotoGP picked up a
But then,
kicked up
there
a
you go,
stink
Nick.
on the
It's
idea
officially. We might not agree with it, but it's officially. I've said it on streams. I don't agree it's a corner, but it is a corner. It's like
it's not like literally.
It's
a
like
corner,
10-5. 10-5 is
corner
not
to
corner
me-
either. Then
No, to me, a corner. What defines a corner is at least some aspect of a track where you actually have to get off the gas.
well, that's
Even
not
if
quite
it's
true,
even
though.
if it's a dip, even if it's just like a little lift off the gas, as long as you're doing that, that's a corner. Going flat
So-
out into something like that is just not right.
That's then you're basically you're saying that the third corner of the Nouvelle Chicane is not a corner because you are doing that flat out.
And all fair, you can also say that about
Yeah,
Eau Rouge
pretty
as well.
much.
You're doing that flat out.
Right,
But Eau Rouge is definitely a corner.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
Well-
With Dillian, you
well,
definitely do it
Rouge-
flat out.
well, Eau Rouge is questionable per racing category. In a Formula 1 car, yes. In an LMP1 car, maybe.
I
In a
think, Brett, you
GT3
have to
car,
concede
hell
this
no.
one. I think it actually is defined as a corner.
But the point is,
I'm getting what you're saying, 100%. It should not be.
you
a
spun
corner.
it. You spun it turn two. You spun it turn two. You backed into him.
Right. No, he spun off at the exit of turn 3. I came round turn 3 and he was reversing into me.
Yeah, the reason why I did that was because I saw him on the track map, and I'm so used to driving with. I'm not used to driving with Gaz. I saw him go around the corner. I thought, okay, by the time I hit reverse, he's gonna be gone, and he was still there. So he must have took that corner so slowly. I thought he would have been gone. So I was confused about what hit me, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he went, I'm sorry, Homer, that was my fault. I hit you." I was like, "What were you doing? I thought you had done the corner already. What were you doing? Stopping to buy milk, picking a flower? What were you doing?"
Oh, there's
It
no
took you
flowers
about
that corner,
5
mate. I've
minutes.
checked. The whole reason why it took me that long is because the yellow flag things came up. I knew you was round the corner, so slowed down so it didn't crash into you. But then you did reverse in front of me anyway.
I just thought you would have gone.
I followed the rules. I followed the rules from the other week when we had all those incidents at Monaco on the TTFL.
Yeah, but this ain't
About
Monaco.
people not paying attention to the yellow flags.
Oh, well, I mean, it can't be any worse than Johnny Stokes at Azerbaijan, who was trying to appeal a 5-second penalty for a collision when he steamrolled into the castle section. There was a car on the pretty much, I think, almost in the middle of the circuit. So instead of stopping or to go around the left, which would have been the smarter idea, he basically jimmied himself into the car on the right hand side, actually got stuck for 3 seconds, and then plopped down, got a 5-second penalty for it.
Sometimes this game can be a bit broken, just a little bit broken. So a couple of messages quickly read out. Gary, you were almost a minute behind. Speedy loving the argument. This is a bit of poking the bear from Matty Green. He said, this is directed at Brett. So what about turn 10 at Silverstone? You say Nat is in the corner, and what about turn 11?
Well, hang on, I've got to think what turn 10 is. So
Get your finger. The thing is, your turn 10 will be different if you're not counting. I think turn 10 is where you go to cops.
3, 4.
What coat of cops it would be?
5.
I think it's the flat out
6,
right-hander, isn't it? But the old pitch straight.
8.
Yeah, either side of it.
Yeah, that's it. The old pitch straight.
Yeah, so it must be referring to cops. Either that, or he's referring to Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel.
Oh, but you actually do slow down a little bit for Maggots and Beckett's
You do
usually.
slow down, yeah. It's
Yeah,
the one before. It's the one
ease off
before
the
that.
acceleration.
Yeah, be the two corners.
Even cops, you can't. Depending on the trajectory of how you're approaching cops, you can't even take that fully flat out.
Oh no, I do, and that's slow. I do.
yeah, but if you're taking the escape road, that's kind of easy. If you're going off the if you're going wide out of the exit of cops, that's easy.
I know. I'll be honest. I stay
about
back. I don't.
Wait, which corner again? The one after the old pit straight.
So yeah, the old pitch straight.
I'm guessing it's cops.
You can do that.
The original,
Oh, 100%.
the original first turn, basically, before they re-profiled the circuit.
Yeah,
It's not the original. No, the original first
Yeah,
turn was
you
Abbey.
can take it for full chat.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
that's right. Yeah,
The original first 10 was actually Woodcote in Silverstone. Woodcote was the original first 10 because the original pit straight was between Abbey and Woodcote. So, and then he redone the circuit over the years and missed that part out altogether.
Well, the technical funny side between, you know, the reprofiling of Silverstone is that not much has really changed in terms of the positioning of where all the cars go. It's just sort of, they remodeled I suppose I guess it would be the last sector of the original circuit,
Well,
and then added a pit complex there.
The original circuit used to use the outer airfield roads. So it was it was completely different. The only parts that actually still remain is what's now the Hamilton Straits, which makes me feel
because originally where the pit lane is now, when you went to the X corner, you went left, right, and then you took a quick left, and it took you to another bridge, which then you proceeded to go right, and in fact, I think that entire sector was called Bridge, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because I think I remember watching a British touring car race back in 2001 with Jason Plato and Ivan Muller, and I remember Ivan having an engine misfire. Plato fired his car up the inside, took Ivan out of the race, and got disqualified for it.
Jason Plato for you.
Well, I mean, you've got to give the man credit where credit's due. He's a great racer. I'll give him that, but he is like risky. Well, I mean, if you look at driver perspectives, you've got Jason Plato, Matt Neal, who were the butting heads of the British Touring Car Championship for God knows how long. I think it didn't really. I don't think that really came to a head to about 2006, wasn't it? That's where they started to embroil themselves.
Yeah, well, that's when Matt Neal became a possible contender, and Gordon Snedden, who was actually also starting to come through the ranks. But Gordon Snedden's like the good boy. He never got involved in any of that kind of crap.
Yeah, so those two, and then you've got Lewis. You had Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg for a time. There isn't really. I wouldn't really think there is many headbutting in F1 anymore since Rosberg sort of left the scene.
You can argue with the Max Verstappen and Ricciardo crash in Baku. They had a bit of headbutting.
But I'm talking more about. I'm more talking long-term headbutting. So like,
when it comes to Red Bull, there was never ever long-term when it comes down to a rivalry with Max. As soon as it became a rivalry, that was it. They were gone.
Yeah,
they were forced them out. They didn't give them any boost of any potential.
So if you were battling Max too much, you were evicted, and if you were 2 seconds behind Max, you were evicted. So I don't know what Sergio can do in this point. If he can beat Max, that's a bonus, probably a bonus. But would the team keep him on for that year, or are they going to keep an eye on Yuki Tsunoda and think, well, if Yuki does well enough, is he going to get promoted to Red Bull and Sergio then gets kicked out of Formula One altogether?
If Yuki Tsunoda goes to Red Bull, I will put money on it. Give him half a season, and he'll start kicking Max's ass all over the place. He is so quick to learn. I've got so much faith in that young guy. I think he's going to be a future world title contender.
Young's a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, he's not old enough to actually hold alcohol, let alone drink it. It's the funny thing is, though, technically he's not allowed to pick up the champagne at the end of a race. If he wins, he's actually got to be given it by his dad. So his dad's actually got to be the one who passes him the champagne.
Yeah, so sorry, Dan, to reiterate, we're not talking so much about team rivalry, we're talking more about championship rivalry. So okay. Jason Plato and Matt Neal never were teammates, and probably, I think they're both retired now, aren't they? They don't, or does Matt Neal still race?
Matt Neal races, but he's like one of those ones who's like a sporadic racer, so he doesn't race like every weekend. He's not part of he does it for his sponsorship rather than anything else.
So
Jason
I
Plato
know
is a racing. He's a racing advisor rather than engineer because he doesn't know shit about engines.
no, because I know they had an interview with each other, and they said that they'd sort of cleared the air with all their racing misdemeanors, but when asked would they be teammates in a team, they both pretty much said not in a million years, sort of thing. So, you know, they sort of like supercars. The Australian Supercar Championship had quite a beauty of a one back in 2003. There was a battle for the championship between the Holden Racing team and Stone Brothers Racing, which were the benchmark Ford team at the time. And so Marcus Ambrose, you might know the name from NASCAR and all that stuff, he was leading the championship. Mark Scaife for the Holden Racing team was trying to beat him. His teammate, Ambrose's teammate Russell Ingall was within the fight as well, but not. He was sort of on a mathematical scale. He had to make sure that those two in front of him were out of the race. So his goal was to help his teammate win the championship, and so Scaife and Ingall got side by side at this particular corner at Sydney Motorsport Park. Ingall was on the edge of the track by the grass, so people sort of suggest that he was trying to get back onto the track to stop the squeeze. But from the angle that you see it, Ingall then turns further right and just pits Scaife into the fence. So it was a deliberate takeout. And so Scaife tried to get his car back on track. Obviously, he knew it was busted, so he pulled off to the other side of the road. He waited till Ingall came back around because it brought out a safety car. He was holding his helmet in his hand, and as soon as he saw Ingall's car, he literally threw his helmet at the official, ran out onto the track and started screaming and pointing at him to indicate, "You've fucked me in this championship." And Ingall's response was to actually swerve in an attempt to run him over.
Jesus.
And so that started their rivalry, and that went on for years and years and years. And then eventually they both retired. Well, Scaife retired in 2008, Ingall retired in 2014. And they then both eventually became partners in the commentary sort of side. Like Ingall was an analyzer, and Scaife became an actual commentator. And when they buried the hatchet in that term of things, but every sort of race, Scaife would be like, through all this, I'm still very disappointed at you, Russell. And Russ would be like, "Oh, what's that?" It's like, you still haven't apologised for what you did to me in 2003. So they just keep the banter going. It was absolutely hilarious.
So bringing us quickly back to F1, we've been chatting for about over nearly 2 hours now, so it's been a really good sort of first podcast, so thank you everyone for listening. Just a couple of things I wanted to throw in, because Speedy wants to add a couple of more names into this pot. We'll wrap it up in about 10 minutes as well, but Vettel versus Webber, I think that falls into the same sort of lines as what Gaz said, that normally with Red Bull, as soon as there was a rival to their number one driver, they kind of, you can tell who Red Bull chose as their golden boy. So that was never going to be a good battle for Webber. He was never going to win that battle. Like for example, what comes to mind is the Multi 21 comment he made when I think it was Australia, I believe, where
Malaysia,
where Webber was winning, and obviously he gave the call Multi 21, which means second car stays ahead, Vettel stays behind, and yet Vettel overtook, didn't give it back, and won the race. The other one, Massa and Hamilton, that was a bit closer.
Yeah,
that was a bit closer.
Yeah, so that started in 2009, I believe, just after the championship. So all of a sudden they were banging wheels with each other. They were actually subsequently taking each other out. I remember a Singapore race that Hamilton was doing an interview, and then Massa went up to him, smacked him on the back and said, "Great job, buddy, great job," in a sarcastic manner. And it actually pissed off Hamilton enough that he actually just said, "I can't do this." He left the thing. With the Multi-21 with Vettel and Webber, Vettel apologised for it initially, said he was out of line and he didn't want to put himself ahead of the team in that respect, because he's the one who races for the team pays his wages. But then in a later interview, he actually came out and said it was payback for what happened in Brazil 2012. Because obviously Vettel was spun around at the start of the race. He was fighting Alonso for the championship. and then there was a point in the race where Vettel was behind Webber, and then the team radio came out multi 1-2, which is obviously the opposite of multi 21, and Webber actually denied it. Like, he said, what button is that on the wheel? I don't know where that is. So he played dumb to the game. So Vettel must have remembered this and then thought, I'll get you back for this one day. And oddly enough, Malaysia was that one day that he thought, nah, I'm getting you for this.
Long time to hold a grudge.
Well, I mean, if you think about the whole...
he is German after all. Come on.
Well, if you look at the Rosberg-Hamilton sort of thing, they initially started in 2014 as the best of mates. By the end of 2016, I think they had probably that kind of friendship ground that the further apart they are from each other, the better.
Yeah.
So, it's sort of a thing, like, and you look at all the battles over the years with Michael Schumacher, the 97 controversy with Villeneuve, 2006 at Monaco when he deliberately pulled off to the side of the road at La Razcaz to force a yellow flag. Alonso and Hamilton in 07 when Alonso thought he was the number one driver, but McLaren were actually favouring Hamilton instead, and that boiled over at Hungary when he forced Hamilton to miss a qualifying lap.
Yeah, he slowed down, didn't he, on the track?
No, they had a pit cycle, so they were going to pit them.
Stayed in the box.
Yeah, he stayed in the box for about 10 seconds longer than he should have.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And then, of course, he got in trouble for that. Keep in mind, remember, Ron Dennis came down on him, even though the reason Alonso did it was because Hamilton impeded him in a previous run. So, you could tell by that point there that McLaren were wanting Hamilton to be the golden child. And, Alonso, who was the double world champion, mind you, the number one was on his car. He was left to think, well, what's my place in this team if you're just going to try and groom this guy to be the next Michael Schumacher, which, I mean, you look at it now, it's like when Lewis Hamilton came on the scene in 07, if you were to say he was going to become the guy to surpass Michael Schumacher, you would have laughed.
Yeah, definitely. But as I said, it's been great to watch him. But I think, you know what? That's been a really good first podcast. I think that was actually difficult to stop because I really enjoyed that. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. This will be a bi-weekly podcast, so the next one won't be next week, it'll be the week after, mainly because I'm not here next week. If it does get more popular, obviously we can look into doing it weekly. First of all, I want to thank our two guests, Brett Evans and Amar Singh. Amar obviously being very quiet and obviously, very chatty, wouldn't let us get a word in edgeways. But thank you guys for joining us. I think I'll give my final words to Nevo and Gaz. How did you think it went today?
It was a good podcast, obviously something that I said that we should have done a few months ago, just because there's no one really doing it. Like, obviously we're commentating, there's not commentators, but there's not many people doing podcasts. So I think it's good to do a podcast about everything, and I think the first one's probably the hardest one because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah. And
you can kind of keep it going for ages and ages, but yeah, it's been good. It's been good, and the next one will be just as packed out. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely just packed out. Gaz, how do you feel?
Yeah. I felt quite well. A nice little debate there, especially about the corners. That was quite fun. So
this ain't over, guys. This ain't over.
I'm glad I do actually. So, guys,
just bow down to my prowess, Brett. You know I'm right.
What I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to build on this.
Circuits.
I'm going to build on this, right? And in 2 weeks' time, we'll have an answer. So, guys, if you haven't joined yet, do please join the DxT TV live Discord. In that, I'm going to do a poll, right? And I'm going to name the Austrian track and ask what corner is this, or what corner do you refer to as turn 1, turn 2, and that's going to be the decider. So that's how we're going to.
Oh no, you can't do that because as soon as you do that, you're putting the fate into idiots.
Oh, you can't call our watchers idiots. What are you doing?
Mate.
Like, because a lot of people are sitting there like that. They do not know. Like, a lot of people like Colin, but you're like the main culprit of this. You don't know jack crap
I was
about
agreeing
F1.
with you.
You don't know jack crap about F1. The only reason why you agree with me is because you know I'm right. I'm always right when it comes to F1.
I knew. Me and you are going to fall out, right? It's going to be the first and last podcast I'm having with you.
Probably another suggestion too, and this is for people watching. A lot more questions in the thing too, because it's a podcast and it's not affiliated completely with league racing and all that stuff. Ask questions about local daily life, anything like that.
Yeah, literally.
What's on the fucking news, you know? What's on in the sport? I mean, look, right now I could tell you that the Black Caps have beaten Bangladesh in cricket. Not that people care, but it's a thing.
No, it's true. Obviously, I think our
Black Cats
first podcast was kind of, because it's our introduction, which kind of led on to F1, and we think we spent most of the time talking about F1 today. But also, what I'm going to do as well, I had the idea of each episode is going to be untitled. So by the end of the episode, we then decide a title for the episode. Because today's one's easy, it's the introduction, it's the first one. So that's what's going to be the game. So it's not going to be all gaming or F1 based, guys. Obviously, that could be a lot of gaming. Let's be honest. It's three blokes, two guests, chatting about bloody gaming and how we got into it. But yeah, it's going to be definite game talk. But yeah, it hasn't, like Brett said. Do come in with your questions. It hasn't got to be anything gaming related. It could be anything that you got on your mind, anything you want to ask us, or it's just chat about in general. Ask our opinions, like anything you can think of. But yeah, I think it's like I said, it's a good plan to wrap up. It's like 11 o'clock now, our time. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I want to end on this. No one cares about the New Zealand cricket. Now, look, if that was a new podcast, a second episode, that potentially be the title. No one cares about New Zealand cricket.
or it could have been like 10-2 is not a corner.
Or that, exactly. But guys,
I think you should mix them up and be like, no one cares if that's a corner or not.
There we go.
But guys, thank you very much.
It's not a corner, FYI.
Oh yeah. What? Okay. Anyway, no. Shut up. We're not getting into this, guys. Thank you very much.
Finally,
for watching.
someone who gets me.
He's going for no. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you in 2 weeks' time for the next episode of Heads Up Podcast. Thank you very much.